A billionaire spent fortunes cycling through dozens of nannies. Yet his son never stopped crying, coughing, choking, sleepless nights that turned the mansion into a prison. Everyone failed until one quiet maid in a blue uniform and yellow gloves walked in. She wasn't hired to heal, only to clean. But in her arms, the baby breathed differently. While the father scoffed, while the staff mocked, she noticed what no one else dared to see. Fragrance in the air made him choke. Thin milk made him gasp. Against arrogance, against dismissal, she stood her ground. And when doctors confirmed the truth, the impossible happened. The boy's first peaceful sleep and his very first word. Will pride keep the father blind? Or will humility finally save his son? Before watching, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss another heart-gripping story like this one. Nadia adjusted the cuffs of her blue uniform and tugged the yellow gloves higher on her wrists. Her first morning in the Harrow mansion, and already the marble floor seemed colder than her nerves could handle. She found the baby in the living room, slumped and whimpering in the oversized crib. His cheeks flushed, his onesie damp with sweat. She bent down quickly, scooped him into her arms, and whispered, "It's all right, little one." His cry sharpened as soon as she moved him, then softened when his small head pressed against her collarbone. He clung, hiccuping, refusing to let go. Behind her, a voice barked, "Don't coddle him. He'll never calm if you keep giving in." She turned her head slightly. The billionaire Mr. Harrow stood near the window in a navy suit, phone to his ear, eyes on her like she was already failing. "Another nanny in my house," he muttered into the receiver. "I'll fire the agency by the end of the day if this one's no different." Nadia ignored the sting of his words and shifted the baby upright. His breathing eased almost instantly. She felt the tiny ribs rise and fall in a calmer rhythm. "Sir," she said quietly, "he needs to be held this way. He can't breathe well lying down." He snapped, lowering his phone. "You clean. You don't instruct me about my son's health." Her lips tightened, but she didn't release the child. "Then watch." She tilted the baby slowly to show him. The moment his body leaned back, his throat rattled. The wet cough came. Upright again, he stilled. Mr. Harrow's jaw clenched. "Coincidence?" "No," Nadia whispered. "Pattern, Miss Clark." The housekeeper appeared at the doorway, arms crossed. "You're overstepping already. Nurses handle feeding. You just scrub floors." Nadia rocked the baby gently, humming. His eyelids fluttered for the first time in days. She could feel it, sleep pulling him under longer than the shallow bursts the household had grown used to. "I need 24 hours, she said firmly. "Let me try 2 things. No fragrances in his room. Slower feeds upright. If it doesn't work, I'll leave myself." Mr. Harrow's laugh was sharp. 24 hours. Every nanny before you beg for weeks and delivered nothing but excuses. "I don't beg," Nadia replied. She pressed her cheek against the baby's soft hair. "I prove." The room went quiet except for the child's even breaths. Mr. Harrow glanced at his watch. "Fine. One day, if he crashes tonight, you're gone." He turned his back and muttered into his phone again, dismissing her like a servant who had spoken out of turn. The staff stared. Miss Clark shook her head. "You're digging your own grave." "Maybe," Nadia said, stroking the baby's back. "But at least I'll know I tried." That afternoon, She unplugged the citrus reed diffuser. When the housekeeper sprayed polish on the piano, the boy coughed hard enough to gag. Nadia whisked him out, opened a window, and soothed him against her shoulder until his color returned. She filmed it on her phone, cough with polish, quiet without evidence. By evening, it was feeding time. The nurse handed her a bottle with a wide grin. "Let's see a miracle." Nadia checked the nipple, shook her head. Too fast. She swapped it for a slower one, held the baby angled upright, fed him in pauses. He squirmed at first, frustrated by the slower flow, then settled. The dreaded gurgle didn't come. He swallowed, burped, sighed. His eyelids drooped. "Impossible," the nurse muttered. The boy slept 10 minutes, 20, 40. A full 90 minutes passed before he stirred again. The monitor in the living room stayed quiet. For the first time in weeks, there wasn't a constant cry. Mr. Harrow stormed in, suspicion painted across his face. "What did you give him?" "Nothing but patience," Nadia answered, his eyes narrowed. "Don't be clever. Look at him," she said simply, motioning to the crib. The boy's chest rose and fell evenly, lips unmarked by redness, no wheezes in his throat. Mr. Harrow stared a long moment, then turned away. "If this doesn't last the night, you'll be on the street by morning." Nadia's arms ached from the long hours, her ears still ringing from the day's tension. But she whispered to the child, "Sleep, little one. Prove them wrong." That night, the house was stunned into silence. For the first time in months, the Harrow estate heard no shrill, wailing echo through the halls. The silence of that night weighed heavier on the mansion than the cries ever had. At dawn, Mr. Harrow stalked into the nursery with suspicion burning in his eyes. Nadia was still awake, sitting in the rocker with the boy nestled against her chest, her blue uniform wrinkled, yellow gloves folded neatly on the table beside her. "He slept," Harrow said flatly as though accusing her. "Yes," Nadia answered, voice from the long vigil. 3 hours in a row. Twice he crossed his arms. "Fluke. Patterns don't lie," she replied, lifting the boy so he sat upright. "Watch again," she offered the bottle, paced the feed, burped him after each ounce. Not a single cough. Harrow's jaw tightened. "You act like you've solved what a dozen trained women couldn't." "I didn't solve him," Nadia said. "I listened to him. That's all he's been asking." Ms. Clark entered, carrying a tray and muttering under her breath. She sprayed lemon polish on the dresser. The baby gagged instantly, coughing until his face turned crimson. Nadia snatched the spray from her hand. "Enough," she snapped. "Look, he chokes when there's scent. He clears when it's gone. How can you not see?" Clark glared. "You dare shout in this house? I dare when his life is choking out of him." Nadia fired back. Her voice cracked, but she stood firm, rocking the baby upright again until his breath steadied. Harrow stared at the scene. Conflicted, Nadia pulled out her phone, showing the videos from the day before. Baby coughing when polish filled the air, then calmer in fresh air. "This isn't chance," she said, thrusting the screen toward him. "This is evidence." His face darkened. "You're a maid, not a doctor." "I know," she said firmly, "but I lost a sister's child to the same thing. Silent aspiration, dairy intolerance. Nobody listened until it was too late. I won't watch it happen again." The room stilled. For the first time, Harrow's arrogance faltered. "Give me a pediatrician today," she pressed, "or fire me now. But if you keep ignoring this, you'll lose him. The words struck harder than any insult. Harrow exhaled slowly, pinching the bridge of his nose. Fine, one appointment. If they call you wrong, you'll leave this house before sundown. Hours later, they sat in the clinic. The pediatrician and speech pathologist ran tests. Thin liquids, thickened ones, upright versus flat. Every time the baby swallowed thin formula, the monitor lit with aspiration. Every time Nadia held him upright with slower flow, the risk vanished. The doctor explained in calm tones, RO or pharyngeal dysphagia, aspiration risk, likely dairy sensitivity, aggravating reflux. The plan was clear. No dairy, thickened feeds, fragrance-free environment, upright posture. Nadia's hands trembled as relief washed over her. Harrow sat frozen, face drained of color. Back at the mansion, Miss Clark protested. We can't strip fragrances out of every room for one child. You will, Harrow said coldly, his voice cut like steel. Effective immediately, Clark sputtered. But sir, pack your things, he said without raising his tone. If you can't follow, you don't belong here. The staff fell silent. Clark left red-faced. For once, Nadia didn't feel like an intruder. She felt seen. That evening, Harrow stood at the doorway of the nursery, watching his son in Nadia's arms. The boy fed slowly, eyes wide and calm. Then, miraculously, he smiled, drooling down her shoulder. He reached out a tiny hand and whispered something faint but clear. Nah, nah. Nadia froze, tears rising unbidden. The child clung to her collar. Harrow stepped forward, voice breaking. He's never spoken. Not even a sound like that. Nadia pressed her cheek to the baby's hair, whispering, first words come when the pain ends. For the first time, the billionaire's rudeness crumbled. He swallowed hard, eyes shining. I thought money could buy answers. All it did was bury them. You did what none of them could. I only did what he needed, she said. I listened. He lowered his head. And I never did. The mansion changed after that. Fragrances vanished. Cleaners were switched. The nurse followed Nadia's instructions. The boy began to sleep, to eat, to laugh. Each small milestone echoed like a miracle through the halls. Harrow no longer barked orders at her. Instead, he lingered silently in doorways, humbled. One night, he stopped her as she placed the baby in the crib. Nadia, he said, his voice softer than she had ever heard. Thank you for saving my son. She shook her head gently. He saved himself. I only gave him the chance. The man in the navy suit, once hardened by wealth and power, stood speechless. In his silence, Nadia knew the impossible had been done. The child slept peacefully. The mansion at last was quiet, not from despair, but from healing. If this story moved you, don't scroll away. Hit like to show support for those who fight to be heard. Comment your thoughts. Would you have trusted the maid's instinct? And subscribe for more powerful real-life, inspired dramas. Share this with someone who needs reminding. Sometimes the quietest voice carries the greatest truth.